Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm a teacher and author, and this is English Nerd. So you might know, if you've been around the channel for a while, that one of my favorite classic novels is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I am going to give you 6 little tidbits, facts that you might not have known about Crime and Punishment, even if you are, like me, a fan. So I hope that you find these interesting. All right, number 1 is that the book was originally written in first person. Not the entire book, it was the first few chapters or so. And then Dostoevsky decided that he needed to pivot in order for the effect that he wanted to really come through. But it was in first person. It was a surprising choice to stop and start rewriting the entire thing because at the time, Dostoevsky himself, as he was writing this in 1865, it came out the following year, he lived in very similar circumstances to what we see in Raskolnikov, the main character in Crime and Punishment. Dostoevsky also lived in this very small, tight, claustrophobic area. He was completely running out of money and was trying to live on tea, essentially, that was brought to him by the proprietor. So he needed to sell this next book in order to literally continue to live. And so the fact that he stopped and then continued in a different direction is pretty surprising. Number 3, there was supposed to be more of an emphasis on the evils of drunkenness in this story. Dostoevsky was very concerned about the evils of drunkenness and how that sort of epidemic in Russian society was negatively affecting crime rates, individuals, families, all of that. So from top to bottom, it really was doing a number on Russian society, and Dostoevsky was not here for it. Something else is that the year after Dostoevsky wrote this story, eventually with the help of a stenographer, Anna Snitkina, who became his second wife, by the way, the year that it came out, there was a student revolutionary who actually made an attempt on Tsar Alexander II's life, very much like Dostoevsky had essentially predicted in Crime and Punishment, that some of these ideas would boil over into something that was incredibly harmful and violent because of nihilistic ideas going around among the student population especially. So nihilism, if you've heard the term, then you probably know that it's the idea that nothing essentially matters. I mean, that's boiling it down very far, but the way that it would look among the students in Russia at the time was largely on not a metaphysical level, nothing really matters in any fundamental way, but more of an ethical level. So what does this mean for those of us who are living in this world of nothing? It is basically this very egocentric utilitarianism. That was the way that it tended to look. So focus on yourself, suppress things like compassion, and do what is best for yourself at all times. And that way, if I'm doing what's best for myself and you're doing what's best for yourself, then we'll have more whole, complete individuals, rather than if I give charity to you, for example, and then you don't have very much and I have less. So that was the theory, and assuming that you've read Crime and Punishment, or if you do in the future, there are characters who subscribe to this philosophy. So it was nihilism and the nihilists that Dostoevsky ended up really going after, as opposed to drunkenness. We do see a lot of chaos ensuing because of the drunkenness of certain characters, but it's nihilism that is at the heart of what Dostoevsky is attacking in Crime and Punishment. So the fact, now that I've done all this background, is just that when Crime and Punishment came out, it was generally very well received. It was acknowledged as a great work. However, nihilists felt like it was basically slander. They were incredibly upset at the way they were being portrayed in Dostoevsky's work, and how they felt like they've been maligned, basically. And then finally, my last fun fact that you might not know about crime and punishment is that I'm not sure if they still do this, but about 10 years ago, there were some prisons in East Texas that had a program for inmates that was designed to be kind of an education development program to prevent offenders from reoffending. And part of that curriculum was to read and discuss crime and punishment. So it was all of these convicted criminals, to whatever degree they had committed crimes, and they, you know, like all of us who've read Crime and Punishment, saw themselves in just the rationalization and the small choices and all those things that lead Raskolnikov to the crime. And another central aspect of their discussions, besides just kind of figuring out how Raskolnikov got from A to B, how did he go from just being a student who was down and out to somebody who had murdered multiple people, was the idea of love and the important strength and rehabilitating power that love held. And so there are interesting articles about this if you want to do a quick search of crime and punishment in prisons. But I find it really interesting that some of my favorite classics of all time, Crime and Punishment, as well as Shakespeare's Hamlet, which, you know, I love, have been taught in prisons to spur on some of that discussion, like what is just, what is justifiable, you know, just some of those really important conversations to have, whether or not you know, you have a criminal record or not. So there you go, some facts about Crime and Punishment that maybe you didn't know before, even if you've read the book. Now, I know a lot about Crime and Punishment, but I am not an expert, I would say. So are there any other things that you think others might not know about Crime and Punishment that you find really interesting? Put those down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe for more English nerdy goodness, writing, literature, all that good stuff. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you next week. Bye.